Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have reached it. The final series, the finals of the spring split, LPL, TES versus JDG. Not the teams we were expecting, as we've said before, but what they did do is something that none of the other major regions could do. It wasn't a sweep, Mark. We went the distance. We got silver scrapes.
We actually got the full series, full on 5 games, silver scrapes, the whole shebang. We got it all for this LPL finals. And let me just say that the other thing, these 5 games, they didn't disappoint. All 5 games, something there for you to watch, either a sick outplay, a crazy play being made, or an incredible throw. We had it all in this big 5-game series.
I mean, that's what makes a perfect best of series. You got to have throws in there if you're getting to the game 5. And much like the LCK final, the boys were at the venue. Both teams were there. There were no fans still, but media was there. There was handshaking going on. So,
oh boy.
It feels
break
like
out the Purell.
It feels like a different world, but we'll go through all 5 games. Obviously, game 5 always the spiciest, most exciting, but we gotta draw the journey to get there first. Game 1, it was TES looking fully in control. 369 was getting a massive lead on the top side. On the set, they were giving him tons of attention. And then, top, rookie mistake. They sent 2 people to kill an Ornn, and they couldn't do it. You can't 2v1 an Ornn. He's too tanky. He's a tanky boy.
You almost can't 2v1 Ornn at any point, but especially what items he had at this point of the game, and you're not getting that done. The damage is coming through, and that is, again, the big mistake coming through for top esports in this one, identifying, look, let's get this one, and they spend too much trying to do it with not enough in return.
Yeah, they had a 4,000 gold lead that eventually became nothing. Then they fight around Dragon, and this game 1 was all about that Ornn. As Zoom annihilates Jackie Love single-handedly in a 1v3, basically, in the back line to take him out of the fight. That was a bunch of kills on the Dragon over to them, and they closed it out from there. And then you had Zoom dancing on the Nexus as it was dying in place. That's even better than an emote.
I was say it's better than an emote, but the best thing here from the fan perspective is you're staying up. You see that at the very end of first game. You know that this is going to be a spicy series. You know that there's going to be emotions running high, and you know that the best thing here is that Zoom is feeling himself this day after that performance. You know that he's feeling confident. And that was one of the big things that we asked for with JDG is, look, Zoom's going to have to be feeling good, putting up good performances if you're going to have a chance in this one. And right away, game 1 goes over to JDG, and it's the Zoom story coming through on the Ornn.
20 games in a row he's won. So that's probably why he's feeling good and dancing at the end of the game, 20-0. We go to game 2, and it's all mid-jungle early on. The 2v2, First Blood goes over to Karsa and Knight. And then it becomes a 3v3, but 369 TP's much faster than Zoom. Zoom comes in to just see his teammates die, and all of a sudden it's 3-0 for TES, and they got a pretty chunky gold lead again.
It's one of those classic cases where in the old days, you'd cancel that teleport because you know instantly, like, this guy's got the jump. There's no way that this is going to turn around by me getting there. And sure enough, exactly the case. 369 got the jump on it, and it all went in the favor of top esports jumping in there, getting those early kills. And this one snowballed early in the favor of top esports.
And then you had this JDG, not quite desperation, but they're just trying to Baron. They start it up. TES spots it. They get it to about 3,000 or 4,000 health, and TES says, "Hey boys, let's just keep this aggro. Let's dance around for a while." Nobody hit the Baron, but it just stayed aggroed for a long time. Finally, TES would burst it. They get the Baron and some kills afterwards, and they don't throw the lead this time in game 2.
Keep it all under control, even out the series 1-1. As we said, Zoom was feeling himself dancing in that one. You looked at this game and you saw Karsa and what Knight was doing, and you saw Jackie Love get involved in some of these kills. That's exactly what you wanted on the side of top esports. Of course, not perfect with the game 1 being dropped, but game 2, that was everything crossed off the board that you're looking for to be in your prime potential, prime playing form. And hey, heading to game 3, let's see what they got.
The win streak ends for Zoom. His first loss in those 20 games. They do bleed apparently. Game 3, Kanavi, the spring split MVP. He was all over Karsa's jungle in the early game. The Trundle, he's stealing reds. He's blast coning over to steal wolves. It was not a fun start for the Gragas on TES's side.
No, this is what we were worried about in this series is, yes, Karsa is an incredibly accomplished and well thought out jungler throughout the entirety of his career. But heading into this series and the form that these two were showing, what we've seen, there is no way that you were taking his side going into this matchup. And this is the prime example. This game here, what was going on, Navi, he was disgusting the way that he was limiting what Karsa was going to do in the early part of this one.
The problem, JDG had this great early lead through their jungle, but then all of a sudden there's a dive going on bot. It's 2 kills for top, and then Zoom says, boys, let me die with you. He TP's in. He doesn't have to TP because the other JDG members are they have Rift Herald mid. They're grabbing 2 turrets. 2 turrets for 2 kills is worth, but Zoom decides to throw his life away as well.
Yeah, and look, again, the guy that we love and talk about here, this 19-game, 20-game streak, and it comes to the end, he says, let me just run it down a little bit more here to make it clear this one.
But JDG, they get back. They catch out 3 members after they eventually go on a wild goose chase to get Karsa down. And then it's onto the Baron, and it's just Corky's Knight, Knight's Corky, and Jackie Loves Aphelios in a 2v5. And somehow, with an insane Corky ulti from Knight, where he immediately flashes out of the Baron pit, the Emperor's Divide doesn't land on Jackie Love. He flashes and then dances around. They turn a 2v5 around to kill everybody and grab the Baron.
Such an important play for this squad. They needed that Baron to make a lot of things happen on the map and push through. This was a crucial and clutch moment in this series for the top esports side. If they're going to win, they needed this moment to come through in their favor to stop JDG in this one and pull out ahead. They got their advantage here. And of course, who are the 2 stars? It's Knight and Jackie Love.
And they both played out of their minds in that fight. Clutch is absolutely the word to be talking about, and that was really what completely turned this game on its head, because JDG, usually you just get that Baron. I think they close out that game relatively easily, but because all of a sudden Knight and Jackie Love get all this money thrown into them and then they grab the Baron, it was pretty quick work that TES closed that game out the other side to go up 2-1 and get championship point. And we roll on to game 4, where we get Knight's Lissandra again, and not really something you want to see. One of the best mid laners on the planet playing Lissandra, something that you'll complain about. But early on, it was JDG kind of winning or getting advantages on top and bot, even just through laning.
What you wanted to see in this game 4 is some aggression from the side of top esports. Yes, maybe the way this whole series has been going would lead you to think other things. But in this game 4, what you saw and what the strengths are of top esports into this JDG team, you wanted a punch. You needed to go for that knockout punch with something aggressive in this game 4. Take advantage of the skill players that you have and how they're coming off of that victory. It didn't happen in this one. They chose the stalling out, the patient game here, safe Lissandra. It wasn't safe enough. It is JDG getting these advantages, as you said, without doing too much. It was just simple macro advantages that they accumulated here, mainly because, hey, you couldn't push them anywhere else around the map as top esports.
Yeah, and pick ban is always interesting, especially for championship rounds. But it was Aphelios and Misfortune every game, by the way. It swapped who played it, but those were the only picks in the bot lane. There was a Mountain Soul in this game that was contested time and time again. TES had the match point. It got stolen. And then finally, Karsa comes in for the dramatic steal. Okay, we've got Mountain Soul. But 3 members of TES die, and they lose the game immediately afterwards. I'm still calling worth it, though.
Yeah, you know what? To be fair, it actually almost was worth. If they survive that fight, you've got the Mountain Soul on Ornn on your side. You're feeling pretty strong that, hey, maybe we can turn this around in one of these team fights. It just didn't happen because you got nuked in this one, and there was no time left. JDG storming through, making us go all the way, play that Silver Scrapes, game 5. What every region could not do, the LPL can, and give us an actual series.
And they haven't had a 5th game in the finals since 2018, when it was RNG versus IG back then. So exciting to see that. And in the fifth game, you had Silas getting picked up and the Aatrox. The Silas going to Knight, the Aphelios and Misfortune again, like I talked. But the big pick was the Kassadin mid for Yagao going into the Silas. They would eventually swap, and you saw the Aatrox going up against the Kassadin and Knight versus the Ornn. But the early game was about as big a disaster as you could have for Knight. You have a TP getting canceled by 369 after he gets ganked, and then maybe the biggest misplay or blunder we've seen Knight do. Just walks in and takes 2 turret shots trying to solo kill Zoom and dies.
And it's one of the worst moments ever because Knight is such an incredibly skilled and talented player, and we've seen it the entirety of the split. We've seen it this series. And you get to this game 5 where it all matters, and this is not a situation, I don't feel at all, where the guy choked or, you know, kind of came to the pressure here. It just was simply a mistake at the worst possible time. And this is one of those ones where, hey, also, worst possible time? Worst possible person to give over a kill on the side of JDG. It is Zoom, and he gets it. And you know what he did this game? He put that gold to good advantage early on.
And let's give credit to TES because it looked like this game was done when it was 3-0. They would bounce back. There'd be a fight around the river top side, and it was, I think it ended up being a 4-for-3, but Knight absolutely played the fight super clean, stealing the Rek'Sai ulti, popping the Zhonya's immediately, and surviving from the healing on Silas, which is completely busted, by the way, how much he heals. But
it's still busted.
He played really well after those initial blunders.
Right, and that's the important thing as well. That's something that you got to be looking at in the heart of a champion, right? Is whether a guy can bounce back, put everything in the past, focus on the present, and especially in a tough championship game 5 moment. Knight to be able to do that after the blunder topside is a really nice sign for top esports, and especially for Knight fans around the world. And heading into this one, we came down to about 25 minutes in. We got some big time fights heading up to see who wins.
Yeah, TES, they got back into the game. We were at an even game state, and that is when Lamao's Bard started popping off. He had this incredible 4-man ulti, 5-man if you throw in his own teammate who he actually saved, and then it was right into the bullet time. It ended up being an ace for JDG, but the Bard, which has been a pocket pick for him the entire second half of the split, absolutely, completely changes the fight in the mid lane.
I legitimately challenge anybody viewing this video to either link us on Twitter, put it in the comments, wherever you want to put it, put on a video of Bard doing a better ult than this one. You will not find it because it's impossible here. This dude nails 4 of the enemy team, gets his own member that's exhausted here to save his life. This is one of the most clutch, insanely beautiful Bard ults that we have ever seen in League of Legends. And look, we've seen Bard become a strong pick these playoffs. Hasn't been picked a ton, but we've seen it used very, very well by teams like T1. You see it here come through in the clutch. Game 5, Lamau, what an unreal ultimate.
And then the very next fight around a dragon. It's not a 4-man ulti by any means, but he does still catch out a member. It's the way he used it to not engage right away, but it's more of a re-engage after the teams have kind of been dancing around, exchange a few ultis, and then the re-engage comes in from the Bard, and it's another ace. Back-to-back fights, JDG gets an ace to just completely blow the game wide open. The second ace, they would just run it down, TP to the bot lane, run through. You heard the casters calling, saying, I don't know if they could end this. It's still relatively early, but JDG had the confidence. It was a little close at the end, but they did still manage to close it out and win their first ever LPL title.
You saw the Jackie Love got up there with maybe about 5 seconds, a couple hits.
He was ready to annihilate some people.
And you saw the 200 years coming through there. Aphelios ult went out, and you're like, oh no, is this gonna be it? It was not. JDG. They pushed, they got it through the aggressive call to end the game. They made it happen. And as you said, that other Bard ult that came through from Lamau, yeah, he hit only 2 members of top esports. Yeah, one was Karsa, but everybody forgets the big one on the big fish to catch was Jackie Love, and he catches him just at the edge of that ultimate there, keeps him in place. And as you said, sets up the rest of JDG, lined up the Misfortune ult, line up everything, let him have it. And they annihilated top esports in that fight. And to take game 5 and take the championship, Major congratulations for this JDG squad. Completely surprised by this continued growth by this squad, and exponential growth since they've added Kanavi to this squad has really been one of the best stories in all of League of Legends.
And Liv Mao, we talked about the Bardalts. He's the oldest member, been there since the beginning of this organization. Well-deserved finals MVP. He got the nod. I love whenever supports get it because give them the recognition they deserve. He was super emotional with the win for the boys, but much deserved to come down from 2-1, especially after the, I'll call it a barren throw, even though it was really incredible play out of Jackie Love and Knight, playing almost perfectly, but great mental strength to bounce back. Both these teams looked really good in this series, and you can't say that TES underperformed, didn't play well, anybody choked on that roster. Karsa still played well, save for that early game where Kanavi was slamming him, but they came back to win that game. So pretty much everyone played well.
One of the best things actually about this finals is you can't leave it all that disappointed on either side. On the JDG side, you're feeling great about what they've accomplished and that they get this nice victory. And on the other side with top esports, sure, you can feel sad about them not being able to come through all the way and get this achievement. But you look at the performances on their side, and especially the way that they bounced back from some of these moments going against them, and specifically Game 5, Knight making that blunder in the top side, which we keep bringing up because you know what? It was really, really bad and at the worst possible time for them to make a mistake like that. But actually, he really did do the best service that he could to his team to bounce back and put some value into the game from his position, which I don't know if you've ever made a mistake as close to that level as him, but it's
Never.
pretty hard
I played
to reset your mental
game.
Yeah. Well, as someone who's not perfect, I can tell you it's really damn hard to reset your mental and find a way to then contribute from behind at the same time here in these games, bring on the Game 5 pressures to win a championship. It is no small task. So certainly some props here for top esports and how they've responded to some of these adversity situations that they've gone through in these finals. But absolutely, a number one applause and credit today needs to go to JDG. They deserve to be celebrated. They were so close last year. They kept at it, worked hard, and they got here again and took full advantage of the opportunity at hand.
The only thing you could really say about top or question is Yuyangia was playing the last two series fully. He was playing every game. He looked pretty solid for them. And Chocho just played every game this series, which was kind of surprising considering he hasn't played in a while. Maybe you drop down Game 4, you throw him in for Game 5. But at that point, Chocho's the one who's warmed up. He's played 4 straight games. It was just a little surprising to see him initially starting in this series.
Yeah, it was one thing where from the way that Top had been managing the roster, you expected that you might see one of these swaps come through. Maybe someone, again, the idea of having someone watch the game from the sidelines with the coaches, all that feedback, and then jump into game to try and put in a different type of game plan. You thought that we might have seen that. We didn't see that come through on the top side. And we'll never know if that was going to be the big difference maker to help them win the championship.
So now we have the 4 winners from the major regions. We know MSI is not happening, but it doesn't mean we can't at least do a fake ranking for these 4 major region teams going.
So let's just start and say I love North America, I love Canada, I love the US, I love Mexico, but Cloud9, I'm so sorry you're gonna come forth, and that's not to say that I don't think that Cloud9 could take a game off of any of these squads. Heading to MSI, I think that they could absolutely step up and take a game off of G2, off of T1, or off of JDG. But you're asking me to put them ahead of them in any type of ranking here and consistency? I just don't see them being able to pull off that much upset.
What do you mean? Cloud9 3-0'd. JDG took 5 games. Come on.
I'm so stupid. The math. My God.
Not even close. I think you have to put G2 behind the other 2. You have to, right? Coming into this imaginary tournament that's not actually happening. I think you put G2 third.
I think you have to put them third, and I want to put them higher based off of what we've seen from Perks, and then in the past, again in the finals weekend, seeing Caps kind of find a little bit more of that, solid performances that we're looking for him from the bottom side. I just think that look, if you wanted me to put G2 ahead of T1, ahead of JDG, you need to swap the roles back here, or at the very least, you know what? Play around with the idea of swapping them around in your drafts and flex it up. That's what I want to see a little bit more from G2. That would lead me to feeling comfortable to put them ahead of the T1 and JDG group. But of course, G2 fans should be pretty loud and vocal and bringing up last year's results to T1 to be bringing us a little bit of caution, putting T1 ahead of them. But I'm still going to put my T1 boys up there at second, because you better believe, and this is not recency bias, you better believe that JDG are rolling through to claim my top spot.
I mean, they're still, what would it be now, 22-2 over their last 24 games. But for G2, Ocelot, Carlos did say that there's a chance there'll be some swapping or flexing of roles when the summer split rolls around. So in this hypothetical world where there is an MSI, maybe that is something that would happen. But
that's what we're looking for.
That's what we're looking for. I think JDG should be one. I think the LPL, there's 3 really good teams in the LCK. There's 6 really good teams in the LPL. The level of competition is just absolutely insane. That's why they should get 4 teams. And what JDG did, it's not like they had a free run to the finals. They beat the defending world champions.
Yeah, like when I was thinking about that, I'm like, man, yeah, they beat top esports, and you and I and a lot of the other people that are at least informed or aware of things in the League of Legends world and esports, they know that top esports is a legit team with a lot of good talent. But other people would look at them and go, ah, man, I don't recognize that name. Look at these other teams. You got a world champion. You got everything else that this squad, JDG, has come through, run through like a steam train going through it. It has been impressive all the way through from JDG. They deserve this respect. They deserve the nod to be the #1 team into this hypothetical MSI matchup.
5-0 versus IG and FPX. That's it. That's all you need.
What do you want? What do you guys want?
So I think whatever team was coming out of the LPL of the top 4, you'd probably talk about as the strongest team heading into made-up MSI. Doesn't matter which 4 it was.
The thing that I think is going to be, that is extremely interesting, right, is the idea here that we're talking about the draft picks that could be coming through for these type of teams heading to MSI. Of course, G2 brings something very interesting to the table always, but you're looking at the 2 top teams that we're thinking of, T1 and JDG. Both are the squads that have identified things like the Bard to be strong picks down in the bottom side into certain compositions. So you know that, hey, heading into the end, this hypothetical MSI, we could have seen some crazy picks coming through from these 2 staffs. And you know that leads to juicy matchups.
And it is sad that we're not going to have MSI with all these stacked teams, because you have the developed storyline. Like when G2 plays T1, they have this incredible 5-game series. So when they are reunited at Worlds, you have that story that you can immediately expand upon. But now what it's going to do, assuming Worlds goes fully according to plan, which I think it should, you're just going to, people are going to be so hungry for an international competition. And this is an opportunity for Riot to really go all out with this event. They've already added some teams, maybe change. They're not going to change the format to a loser's bracket or anything, but really just expand this whole thing and really make this the biggest world championship. It's the 10th one. You've got to go big if you're Riot, especially with no MSI. You got extra budget now.
That would extra, yeah, but you know where that money that's going directly into the Lux and Ari skin fund budget. That's
true,
where that money. I got to put that right back. We got to fund Valorant and Legends of Runeterra. Come on, how are we gonna do it? I got to pump out 2 new Lux skins.
Yeah, Legends of Runeterra. They're spending it all on these cinematics that they're releasing. Man, they're one a day.
Yeah,
jeez.
But look, I think the appetite and the hunger for international events, and even more than we had before this point in time, has always been there from the community and wanting to see these type of clashes. Maybe not to the level of kind of the cheesiness that Rift Rivals had at times and where it fit in the schedule, but certainly a more international, type of community as far as getting these teams together to fight is what the fans want to see. And especially this year with everybody at home and whatnot and all these pauses going on with traditional sport leagues, this is a great opportunity. And I've seen at least, Joe Marsh, the head of T1 and some of the other LCK teams put out the thought that, look, let's get together with some of these top LPL squads. We're going to have a long break here before summer gets going. Why not get together, have some fun matches here? Maybe you can put some tie into charity here, raise some money for COVID-19 relief funds type of things. This is something that I think absolutely should be looked at, because there's way too many good matches on the table here. And look, these aren't made to be matches where everybody, it's the die hard type of situations. This can be for fun. This can be for bragging rights type of thing. It doesn't have to be all do or die, doom and gloom. This can be positive. And I think the league community is very hungry for something like this, and it would be very well received.
Why do you think all the T1 boys have been practicing TFT?
Are they getting ready?
Rift Rivals TFT version with all the league pros.
They played ARAM against fans. They're getting ready to play against Cloud9, man. They're ready for the North American gameplay.
I'm not playing ARAM against the Shy. That's the greatest ARAM player on the planet, man.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
he has some influence over the draft. I don't know, man.
The Shy is just practicing for when he takes his retirement check in North America, right? He's like, man, I'm getting ready. ARAMs, I'm perfect.
He'll fit right into whatever team he goes for. But yeah, if there's any kind of event like that, people would love to see it.
Thank you, Broken Blade. TSM the Shy.
even if teams aren't scrimming or anything, yeah, just throw them in some fun matches against the other top squads. There's going to be no stakes. You're not playing for anything. It's just to give the fans entertainment. And if the players, I don't know, they're probably not still going to be able to do that much. They're just going to be playing, and it gives something for them to work towards too.
I promise you that this is a situation where only positives can really come out of this one. And you got to be really bell-ended to try and get a negative out of this one for this type of situation. But let's have all these people have fun, have games, have League of Legends going on. We're going to have a long off season heading through. People were ready for it to be short with everything, expecting an MSI. No MSI, long off season. Come on, let's have some fun. This is a video game, for God's sake. Let's have some fun, play some games. Let's all enjoy it.
And now as we dive into the off season, we'll be here. We'll still be talking about any roster changes now that teams have.
You can't escape us, guys. Come on, you know that.
Us. We're following you wherever you go, whatever happens. Any changes that happen with the extended window teams have, we'll be talking about them. We'll also be looking back, fill in some content. Historic teams, moments that have happened over the years, because we're 10 years in. We're old. It's
we're getting ready to do the full-on greatest TSM and Rogue moments.
Yeah, it's a short list. The Twitter banter of 2019.
Number one is the potential 2020 Worlds matchup here. That's what we're waiting for.
Semi-final/finals match. Can't wait for it.
We just got to get someone on Rogue to date the CEO of Rogue now and just make all the storylines match up.
I think that's the secret. I think we'll have to send secret agent Vincent Wang over there from TSM to get involved.
Undetected at CLG all these years.
Yeah, and look at him now. He did it. Mission success. Way to go, Bio. That is it, though, today for League Unlock. Mark and Eric here with you guys. Hanging out as always. We'll catch you gals and guys on the flippity flop.